welcome to another episode of The Best Is Yet to Come with your girl, Steph. And as always, we have an amazing guest with us tonight. However, before I introduce him, I would like to thank each and every one of you for the continuous support. And for those who are joining us for the first time, I would like to say welcome. And if you're not familiar with what our platform is about, it's our way of giving back. If anyone knows me, I feel that we all have an obligation to give back and to make a difference. So here at The Best Is Yet to Come, this is one way that we do it. And what I like to do is to have different guests on to share their stories, their triumphs, or how they overcame. So our guest tonight is no different from the other guests that we have had. So without any further ado, he's an author, business owner, and also a producer. Welcome, Mr. Williams.
How you doing? Thank you for introducing me. I'm welcome on the show. As she stated, I'm owner of Casual Business Moves Publishing Company. I'm also author of 4 books. I'm working on my 5th book. And, I'm just trying to be a good guy in the community.
Okay, great. Well, I actually have all 4 books, so at some point he will be signing those for me.
Absolutely.
We're not going to talk too much about the books, but I will say this to my audience. A couple of his books, if you was ever a fan of Zane, it's a definitely must read. I would even say that, I don't want to be a little biased, but he's even better than Zane. But you can figure this out for yourself if you purchase one of his books. Can you tell the audience where they can actually get the books?
Well, you can go to casualbusinessmoves.com. If you're into ebooks, you could go to kindle.com. But I sell them on directly. You can call me or go just to my website.
Okay, great. Now, the books, the source of information and, Wrong Turn, Right? Yes. Can you tell us a little about those? Were those fiction, or was they something that you had?
So basically, growing up, I lived in the streets of Boston and, went through troubling time of an era that's, was plagued with gun violence and, of course, crack epidemic. So, I was just trying to find my way as a youth, and those are my story, growing up. And I lived a harsh life, but, I'm glad that I overcame it.
Right. When did you realize that you had the gift to write?
Well, I always felt like, man, I was a gifted writer, but, during my incarceration of, doing time, I learned that I had a little talent in just writing people and just, expressing myself a little bit more than others. So, I always knew I had a story to tell, but I just knew I had to put it in the right way. So, I guess I honed my skills in prison.
Okay, all right. Now, you are also a producer. How did you transition from an author into the role of being a producer? Because you have other people that...
Right, so, I'm just, trying to expand the brand, just trying to make sure that it's just not about me. It's we bring in the city, and we want a lot of other people to get a chance and some breaks, and it's about unity. So we're gonna be doing a lot of books. I also want to work with kids over the summer, man. Try to produce a book, man. Gonna be working with a good friend that's also a great mentor in the community.
Oh, great! That's awesome. Now, how do you determine someone else's material if it's worthy of being put on paper?
Well, I've been around a lot of people that have interesting stories, man. I have some people that, I know firsthand their story. So at first it starts with home, man. I want everybody, for us, I feel like Boston's an untapped, community and environment, man, that we don't get our props. So I want us to come from the streets of Boston, man, not just on, the gang violence, but, also just, expanding, the intelligence of the youth, man, growing up, man, because I feel like they're the ones that we need to focus on.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what are some other things that you are doing in the community? I know you and I talked, and you are definitely passionate, as you mentioned, the youth. What else are you doing?
Well, I just did this past Saturday a community cookout, thrown by a great guy, Craig Carter, a friend, in a nice organization, just not him, man, but, a great turnout. And I'm always doing something in the community. If there's an event, 9 times out of 10, you can find me there because my ears are to the streets, man, and this is where I put my work in.
Okay. Now, why are you so passionate about getting involved in the community? You've turned your life around. I mean, a lot of people feel like, well, I've turned my life around, so it's just about me. Why are you different?
Because I feel like I was lacking the direction when growing up. I felt like if I had a little bit more to someone else to show me a different way, man, not even show me a different way, just show me like there's growth. I learned growth, unfortunately, behind the prison walls, but I could have adapted a lot quicker on the streets if I had someone there to guide me and tell me, listen, this is the road that you're going to go through. These are the steps you're going to fall down. And this is the way you can avoid it and get on top. Sometimes you have to hear it from someone that's been through it. You just can't just hear it from someone who's studying a book. Things just can't be done by a book all the time.
Right. No, I agree wholeheartedly with you. And that's something that my team and I talk about. As you know, this season is, how can I forget my own theme for this season? Changing the narrative, changing the narrative. And one of the things that we talked about is that, the misinformed keep misinforming, and it's like it's passed down from different generations. And I'm glad that you are part of trying to break that cycle, within our community. Now, why do you feel, or do you know why there's not enough of us that's willing to go the extra mile to give back or to change that narrative?
Well, I think a lot of people are willing to give back. I just think that there's no resources for them to do it, man. A lot of people are living in a community, man, where it's not a lot of money there to begin with. So for them to go and give back to others, man, it takes resources. It takes people giving back, man. And unfortunately, man, we don't have a lot of that in Boston when it comes in the inner city. So they do as much as they can.
Okay.
But you have to bring people in with you as well. You have to show them there's a way. You have to show them there's hope. You have to show them that there's a different direction. And once they learn, they'll catch on and teach others.
Right. Some of the things that I often hear, and I'm sure that you've heard this too, a young man that maybe have, a couple of children, a significant other, and really don't have any skills. So working at McDonald's or Walmart is not an option. They have a tendency to go to selling drugs and stuff like that. How can we change that narrative?
I mean, at the end of the day, you can't change the law of the streets. But what you can do is educate them on trying to achieve what they want at a quicker pace.
Okay.
Whether it's education, whether it's trades, whether it's, little things about, going to events that you meet people. Because let's face it, it's not always about what you do. It's sometimes about who you know.
Oh, that's right.
So it's like if we can teach them little tricks that'll get you ahead in life, sometimes they'll be able to avoid the little minor jobs. But of course, I mean, those are for the people that, that don't have the education. So,
Right.
That's why education is the key, so that you can ask for more money, that you can require a bigger salary and just be more of a person that you want to be.
Right, right. So what would you suggest? I, heard what you just said. Like I said, this young man, he's maybe graduated, but is reading at a 7th or 8th grade level. So clearly, if that's the case, he must have been just passed on through the school system. What do we do in cases like that?
Well, first, I mean, we have to prevent that. I think we have to have better education teachers, man, educational teachers that are there that really care about our students so that they don't pass them through.
Right.
So that they're there and that they make sure that they come out with the best education as a private school.
Right.
But we know how it is. They're underfunded as well. So
Right.
they're going through maybe times where their classrooms are overpacked. So you can't really blame put it all on the teachers. But I think as a community we have to embrace everybody, man. If we see someone down, we have to come around them and pick them up.
Right.
So if he's reading at a lower education, then we have to teach him, and we have to bring him places that he can learn, get him into programs that are educated.
Right, right. Now, do you feel that we have those within our community, these different programs that can offer the additional support?
Again, I think I know a lot of people that are mentors, and I have a lot of good friends that are in the community doing a lot of great things. But when it comes to the inner city, man, to the youth, man, your feet on the ground, there's really not a lot of that happen. I see people come in and they do photo shoots. I see people, man, they celebrate for the day, but we celebrate every day in the city. We try to make sure that every day we're trying to uplift the kid, whether it's talking to them, making sure they're not going in the wrong direction. I have parents call me all the time, just like, listen, my kid's going in the wrong direction. This is 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So I'm accessible 24/7, and this is what I do for the community. It's not just, for the stage.
Right, right. Now, that's something that you and I talked about, and I know you're very passionate about it, just from our conversation about, the funding, not having enough funding. And like you just mentioned, people coming in just for the cameras, but they're not really there. And we also talked about our people being able to relate to someone that can identify with what they're going through, because maybe by chance they too have gone through it. And I had asked you a question about, well, how do we change that? And you were saying bring someone in. Well, I'll let you share what you said to me when I was saying, well, how do we bring this? Who is the person that we get in?
Well, like I said, man, you have to have someone that can relate to the kids, man. You have to have someone that, they can trust, man. And it has to be, equal. It has to be trust on both sides. But when you're dealing with the kids, they don't want to hear someone who they've never seen, man, and they can't come and talk to them on their grounds. Like, you want them to come into an office, and frankly, they're on the streets. They don't want to come into an office. So if you can't come to their block, and it might be, like I said, it might be a pissy hallway. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't go in there and just be on their grounds, then there's a disconnect.
Right.
And you can't bring police presence there, because then there's going to be a bigger disconnect.
Right.
So it's like, if you want to relate to them, you first have to come from that background, that cloth, man, and so have a sign of respect for both ways, where they say, okay, I want to listen to you. I think that you have something to give me.
Okay. Now, when you first started getting into the community, working with the youth of the community, was it difficult for you? I mean, what was the process in building trust with them? Because I know a lot of our truth, just because of our age, number one, it's like, okay, what do you know? Not realizing a lot of times that we have traveled the roads that they are traveling a lot of time. So how easy was that, if it was easy, for you to make that connection and build that rapport and, trust within?
Well, unfortunately, I did a lot of time. So a lot of the people that were causing destruction in the street were on the same path as me when I was causing destruction in the street. So we ended up in the same place. So I just came into a time where I was, tired of just going through the nonsense, man. I had an understanding of what we was facing and how, systematically I was trapped, and
Okay.
once I got knowledge of that, it was more about teaching the youth. It was more about showing them there's a different way. So this is not something I just came home and started. this is something that I was doing in prison. I was with a lot of great dudes, man, that had programs up there way before me.
Okay.
And they showed me the way. They kind of guided me, man, to join them. And together, man, we end up, trying to change a lot of lives, man, in the younger generation. So it was just a natural fit when I did come home.
Okay, great, great. Now, if you don't mind sharing with our audience, what transpired to make you say, wait a minute, I can't continue to live life like this. I need to do something different.
Well, I mean, I think just growth, man. Like, again, man, I think everybody matures at a different age. And I was, hypnotized by the glam and the money and the jewelry and everything and just the lifestyle. So I was by far matured than the average person on the street, but as far as the values of life, I didn't get it yet.
Okay.
So once I started getting the values of life, man, and just, the pain and destruction that we cause, and of course, man, I was doing time. So that was another added bonus, like, I have to deal with that. For those that don't know, I was doing life without parole.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I went through a turmoil that a lot of people can't deal with, and just to, even comprehend what you're doing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I had to make a change, and I wanted to make a change for the better.
Right. How old were you when you were faced with doing life without parole?
So, in 2002, I was indicted for murder, and by 2003, I was convicted. So, I got indicted at 25. By age 26, I was convicted. So, I had already
Excuse me.
experienced a lot in life. I had already traveled. I had already, did a lot of things, and I was heavy in the streets, so I was doing that as well. So, but of course, when they say life, that's it, and you're not gonna get another breath outside those walls. It's a different feeling.
Right. And 25 is still very young.
Yeah, 25 is you're just starting off in life.
Right, right.
Right.
Because I always think about my baby. He just turned 20, and that's just like 5 years from the age that he is now, and I couldn't fathom,
Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
that. Wow,
right.
wow. So what occurred that things changed for you in terms of, I mean, you're here with us now, so
Right.
clearly.
I mean, but I'm here, but it was through a lot of struggle, a lot of fight. I got educated in the law.
Okay.
I didn't just, I'm not just here by chance. I'm here
Excuse me.
because, I didn't just, like I said, education is key, just not on the streets, but as well, man, behind the prison walls, man. There's a lot of people that's stuck there because they're not educated enough to, help themselves. And, I was one of the people in my co-defendant, man, and we just picked at the case. We did a lot.
Okay, all right. Now, I know you also do work with reentry, and that's another way that you give back. Can you
Right.
share that with us?
So, yeah, I work with a lot of lifers. So, like I said, I was doing life. So, a great thing happened, man, where a lot of people overturned their case. They're home now, and they're doing great things. Like the people that was there at Norfolk, I could say that everybody that's home, they're doing better than the people that's been on the street forever. So, there's something about that system, that the way they do it, man. But we rely a lot on ourselves. I mean, we
Okay.
come together, and that's the same energy we're trying to bring to the streets to make sure that we bring that same unity and staying away from violence.
Now, how do you feel that that's working on a whole in terms of everyone coming together?
I mean, pretty much when it comes to the community, man, the older guys, we're all together. Everybody's together. So we're all trying to influence now the younger generation. We're trying to get them to understand that the path that we took is the path they're gonna eventually fall into. And I always say, like, we thought we were superstars, but all the superstars ended up in jail.
Yeah.
All the people that I was, that we was getting all the props for being the baddest people on the street. A lot of them matured too, but it just matured too late. They didn't get their second chance. I got mine.
Right.
So there's a lot of people that's still stuck, and they're fighting for their life and hoping that one day they can make a difference on the street as well.
Right. Right. Now, what year did things turn around for you?
So mentally, I was already past the streets before my conviction.
Okay.
But after my conviction, it took me 5 years to overturn my case.
Okay.
So in 2008, I got convicted in 2003. By 2008, I overturned my case. I thought, okay, now it's over. I'm going home. I finally get to see my family and, restart life. They ended up giving me no bail. I ended up spending the next 7 years fighting my case behind bars. Behind upstate in Norfolk prison, and going back and forth to, probably the longest in Massachusetts history.
So help me and the audience to understand this. After your case was turned over,
Right.
you had to do another 7 years?
I did 7 additional years go fighting my case, going back and forth, basically to trial.
So if your case is overturned, isn't that it?
So that's what we thought, but unfortunately, the DA dragged it out, and we uncovered a lot of stuff that in the case, and down the line he ended up getting let loose.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of stuff that was coming out and all that, but yeah, it was a fight. It was a dog fight. I felt like I should have never been convicted, but I also felt like there was a lot of times that they should have dropped the case, but unfortunately it took us 7 years.
Wow. So I believe that, nobody wants anything bad to happen to them or to anyone else, but I feel sometimes when we go through certain things, it gives us the strength that we need, the knowledge that we need to help others. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like, man, we all go through adversity. It's about how you face it. It's about how you turn your life around. It's about how you land on your feet. I feel like I have a lot to give back. Not just for, to the kids, but, for the destruction I caused. I had things I have to live with every day. So it's like I want to do what's good for not just me, but the legacy of, my community when I leave. Man, they say, okay, he left it in good grace. He was a good guy. That's something important to me, that people say he was a good guy when he left. He did a lot.
Right, right. Now, this is something that I often ask my guests, because I think I shared this with you. My other 2 guests that I had on, and even one of my co-hosts, said that they feel an obligation to give back because of the destruction that they caused within the community. What was the process of you forgiving yourself? Making things right with yourself.
Every day, you have to live with yourself. You have to look yourself in the mirror. So I think that when it comes to you defining who you are, when you looking in the mirror, you can't fake it.
Right.
You have to look and recognize your faults. So I was one of the guys that constantly blamed everybody. I'm like, okay, I was never wrong at anything.
Okay.
But I was always like, okay, someone did something, I'm gonna fix it.
Okay.
And I had to come to the reality that you have to. There's consequences for your actions.
Right.
You have to also, respect others, and you can't just think that your way is always the right way. And and that was my thing. I would always say someone did something else, and I'm like, no. Now I'm like, no one can make me do anything.
Right, taking ownership, right.
Right.
Right, that's good. That's good. You shared with me when we talked about something that you would like to see to bring unity within different neighborhoods.
Right.
Can you share that with the audience? Because that was something else that you was really
Well,
passionate about.
yeah, I mean, my whole thing is like, we're always trying to put band-aids on the violence and the problems, and then I think that we need to address it, head on. You're not going to get the youth to like turn around and just leave the blocks to selling drugs to take up a trade or work at a job or whatever. That the reason why they're on the streets is because they don't want to work, or that's going to a job might be dangerous to them. You know what I mean? Like, they're really in the field. So my thing is, it's like a truce. I feel like the only way you can stop things is that you go and you talk to the gangs itself and you set up a truce. That's something I've actually done. I've actually gone into neighborhoods and like worked out things like, okay, listen, if this is on the table, would you be willing to let your beef go? And overwhelmingly, of course there's, kickback or whatever, but overwhelmingly I think that they approve of it because they don't want to be out here risking their life. They don't want to be out here, carrying a gun and just waiting for the next 5-year sentence to come on them. They got kids. They know that the longer they stay out here, the better they do. And it's about what can you give them. My thing is, I want to give them opportunity.
Okay. Now, what kind of opportunities would you, if you had a perfect world and you had the resources, of what would you give them? What would you propose?
Me personally, I wanna, make them businessmen.
Okay.
I want to take them off the streets, man, show them a way about entrepreneurship, man, show them, what's your biggest dream and try to make that possible. Give them a different direction to look in, man, for the a period of time that they say, okay, I'm going to focus on that and not focus on this. And then, I think that, with the right person, you can't put anybody in place. That's the problem. We always try to pace people that are not from the streets. We try to give them the resources and think that they're going to produce different results. Again, if you can't go in their neighborhoods, if you can't speak to these people outside of your comfort zone, then it's not going to work. But if you speak their same language, I think that they're willing to give it a try. And I'm not looking really for money from anybody up front. What I'm looking for is, if we produce the results, what are you willing to put up?
Right, right.
So I want the groundwork to come without any incentive, man. I want them to do it on their own. But there's a big reward if they do it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't give them, oh, I'm going to give you 10 to 15,000, 20,000. You can't do that. I want to give them something that's going to situate where they have ownership. They own that, and they're like, that was worth it.
Right, right. Now, you said that you've been able to bring different communities together and call a truce. How long did the truce last? Do you know? Or
Well, I went and spoke to the neighborhoods and asked them as to what they would be willing to do it. I didn't cause any truce. I didn't try to, conduct no truce, but they're willing to do it.
Okay.
If the money's there. You see what
Okay.
I'm saying? I'm not gonna tell them to stop this and then have nothing for them.
Okay.
Like, that's the city's job to try to figure that one out. If you're not gonna give them nothing, I want them to stop for something. I want them to, be able to look at all this and say it was well worth it. And at the end of the day, we ended up winning on it.
Right.
Right. It's a plan that's proven to work. I didn't think of the other person who did it before my thought. I just came up with it. But now that I've looked into it, it's worked in bigger environments, bigger cities, and it's produced.
Right. I think you were saying to me, like in California, was it that?
Right.
Right, right, Right.
So I'm trying to give you a little bit without giving you everything.
Okay.
So,
All right. All
but
right.
yeah, again, I think that you know, if you want the real results, you have to focus on the core. You know what I mean? And if you can get like if you can get like 4 or 5 gangs to just relax for a summer or a winter or whatever, you're talking about at least 30% of the violence being cut easily.
Okay. All right. Well, it seems like we need to take a break. Um, if you're just joining us, you have joined The Best Is Yet to Come. I am your host, and this is our guest tonight, Jamel Williams.
Jamil, Arthur J. Williams,
Yes,
Ricardo, they call me a lot of different
yes.
things.
But we shall return shortly, and we'll continue this conversation. Welcome back, and like I said, if you're just joining us, you have joined The Best Is Yet to Come. I am your host, Stephanie Seigle, and we have Mr. Williams with us as our guest tonight. And before we went to a commercial break, we was just talking about some things that he would like to see done within our community to bring about additional change. I know you can't give all the 411, but I think what you're saying could be, a great plan. Have you proposed this to any of our officials that are in office?
Well, I'm in the process of putting together a proposal. You know, before I put together a proposal, I just want to make sure that everything is, airtight because this is something that's, you know, my name is going on. So I'm talking to all the OGs from the community, man, because it's not about me, man. It's about them speaking to their peoples, man, and them inviting me in to speak to their peoples. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm nobody, man. The youth, they don't really know me, but they heard me, my name, they respect, the things I've been through, and they know that I want the best for them. So again, I just want to get them the money. I want to get them the bag. I want them to make sure that they can find a different way to you know focus their mind instead of just the streets. This
Right.
bigger world.
Right.
Boston's good, man, but if you become corporate, you might be able to be global. You might be able to be in California doing business. It's just different things out there.
Right. 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 Now you had talked about. Let's go back to. Did I understand when you said that you wanted to do something with the youth in terms of, is it like a writing camp or something like that, or what would it be?
Yeah. So there's something I want to do. Basically, I'm doing a thing where I start to interview young up and coming talents in the city, man. Just some intelligent minds that I've run across, man, in the last few years or 6 7 years that I've been in back. So it's like I want to just bring light and give recognition, man, to them and just show them at an early age what they're doing. But my friend who's a mentor, he's doing something. He's doing a program and he's going to be working with kids. And so yeah, we're gonna be working, trying to give the kids some books, man.
Okay.
In the end, what I mean, work on their literature, how to set up the business, teach them the ins and outs of publishing, and then hopefully try to publish their book in the end.
Okay. Now, speaking of that publishing, how hard was that? Was it hard for you to do that, and what's the process in doing that?
I mean, so everything I've done in life, I've basically owned. So
Okay.
to me, it was always about okay, let me find out the business side of it first. And so before I even put down anything on paper, I found out how to start the publishing company, build the LLC, where to go to see the printing company because I did the printing. Went to the printing company as firsthand. I didn't just rely on a company to do it for me. So, where to find the editor, with the editor. So, but once I had all the structure of the business put together, then I went to writing on the pen and paper.
Oh, so you researched to start the business first and then wrote the book.
Right.
Oh, okay, okay. Wow, that's deep. Okay. A lot of people do it the other way, right? Write
Well,
the
I felt like the first two books were a reflection of my life story. So I basically had that already in my mind of what I wanted, to say. Basically, it was about, putting the time, just putting the errors and the time together, man, so that it fits the timeline. But yeah, I wanted to, learn the business side of it,
Okay.
the thing. But once I did that,
Okay.
you
How
know,
long did it take you to write one?
um, I actually wrote them both together.
Oh, the two first ones?
So the first two books, Wrong Turn Right and Source of Information, I dropped on the same day.
Wow. Now, how was you able to keep them separated? I mean,
Actually, I was just writing. I'm like, okay, man, that one's finished, man. Let me keep on going. So,
okay.
I knew the story, so it was easy to write. And by being in prison, I was one of the guys that used to take the big yellow papers, and I would write 3, 4 pages back and forth,
Oh,
and I
wow.
might write 4 people just in a night.
Oh, okay.
So I was used to just, keep on going. So it came natural to me.
Okay. Anybody else in your family writes?
Not that I know of, but I come from a very talented family.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, the reason why I asked because my two girls, they both are great writers. They write poems and stuff like that. And I just wanted to know if it's like something that kind of flows within the family.
Um, I'm the only author, man, but
Okay.
a lot of my family is talented in a lot of ways, and I come from a very educated family, so they help me along the way.
Okay. All right. Now, in terms of editing a book, do you have outside editor? Do
Right.
you have someone within?
So I have a professional editor that I work with, so I like to always, get it from a different eye. I
Okay.
don't want to just, think I know it all. So what I do is I work with my editor. I give it to them. They edit it. It's a 3-part stage. They give it back to me. I edit it. I give it back to them. They edit it. They give it back to me. I edit it. Give it back to them. They format it and everything, and then I give the final say on it, and
Okay.
then it's get printed.
Okay. Have you ever had a situation where they wanted to change some things that you did not want to change, and how did that work out?
Well, I own everything, so every word on the paper. So I have I've seen times that things be changed around, and I just change it right back. You know what I mean? Like I'll just reject that, hit that reject button, like poop. You know what I mean? Like okay, let's put that right back where it is.
Right.
So you know my editors, they love me. They say they work with hundreds of authors as well, man. They love me. They love my insight and my writing style. So
Okay.
they trust what I'm gonna do.
Okay. Now, do you foresee any of these being on the big screen?
So that's the next step actually, man, is right now movie script. Been talking to a lot of important people. We got Wrong Turn Right, Source of Information. I'm in the process of writing book 3. It's gonna really tell the turnaround about how I started thinking different, and I started to come to the realization about the streets and the system and how I was trapped. So I'm gonna be in prison, but it's also gonna be a street book where when I go to sleep, I have nightmares and I'm back on the streets and I'm back in the trouble mix of doing, illegal stuff, man. So it's a little bit, street, but you see the growth, man, of how I
Okay.
became this person.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Your family, I know, must be really proud of you. That's good.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm proud of my family, man. They went through a lot of hardships, man. They stuck with me in a time that a lot of people gave up on me. You have to understand when you're doing life without parole, you're considered dead to the world. You know, you're just like a living, walking dead man. You know what I mean? Like, so the people that really stand for you, that care for you, those are the people that genuinely love you. And I had a lot of great support systems, so I'm thankful for that.
That's great. Now, do you see like a lot of people that's incarcerated don't have that same support, or half of that support, or the support that they have, they may lose it because, like you said, doing life?
Um, the longer you do, the scarcer your friends become. And let's be honest, man, you know, we rely on a lot of our friends, man, in the streets, man. But when you go to prison, it's usually your family, your mothers that have your back. You know, your friends are there on the streets, but when it comes to money and letters and coming up, man, you know, that's just, you know, not the reality of prison. You know, so you have to you lose a lot of people, man, the longer you do, and that's when you have to come to the realization of, I need to change.
Right, right, right. That's unfortunate, but I guess it happens.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's why it's important to, catch them at an early age,
Right.
uplift them and just, do something better for them where they have hope before they, fall into those footsteps.
Right, right. So, do you feel gradually we are getting to that point?
Well, I'll say this, man. Boston has done a 360 from the time that when I was growing up. A lot of people think that it's worse, but the stats show different.
And what are some of the stats?
So you have to understand, in my time, we might be looking at 140 murders a year. We're probably down to like 38, 30, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Crime's down, you know what I mean? So there has been a big turnaround. There has been a big economical growth in Boston. And when it comes to the, inner city youth, I think they are ahead of their time where they are looking to build a legacy, and they're not looking to just get jobs and just be, yes men. They're looking to, start their own businesses and be someone big.
Right, right. Now, why? I mean, of course, it's a great thing that the stats are going down. What do you contribute some of that to, or do you know?
Well, I think it's just black people are getting educated across the nation. So it's just not just, I will say, of course, there's a lot more police, there's a lot more, obstacles, but violence is down across the nation. And there's probably like 2 cities that's still up there, maybe Chicago and a few others, man. But in every city, man, when it comes to the early 90s and the 2000s, man, crime is drastically down. So I think it's just us being educated as black men.
Now, do you think that it was on a rise then? Because that's when, like you mentioned earlier, the epidemic of crack was high,
Right.
at its highest at that point, right?
Right. So a lot of the reasons why, you know, the gang violence and the murder rate was up is because we was living off a lot of false hope of, gang violence was just fresh and new. Everybody was trying to make a name. So it's like you might have 10, 20 people in your crew. 10, 20 people are going to be on that corner today. When a drive-by happens, there might be 2 people that get killed. But tomorrow, 10, 15 people are going to be on that but same corner tomorrow. So it's like no matter what, you had to represent your corner or your block, and that would, put you at risk. You know what I mean? That put us like, as aiming dummies. You know what I mean? So it's like, Boston's changed and every other state's changed. You don't see a lot of people hanging on street corners. You don't see the, the drug use just running rampant, just like in the middle of the highways and the regular avenues. It used to be crazy like that.
Right. Now, speaking of that, and we talked a little bit about this, the epidemic that we face Mass and Cass is like an isolated area. It seems to be an isolated area, but we know that it's, all over, not just in that area, but it's like it almost seems like it feels like everyone has migrated or they have been put in that area. What are your thoughts on what's going on in the Mass and Cass area and the epidemic of?
I just think, I don't see in any other city, any other town that would just let people migrate in a large capacity and do drugs. No way, I get that we have to treat them. I'm very sympathetic, man, to drug use, man. Of course, my father died of drug use, so I know firsthand, what it is as a kid growing up with a parent that's on drugs, that's someone that has to do it. But of course, man, when he was growing up, he was treated as a criminal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest, man, there was no epidemic when we was going through it. Like, when we was going through it, it was the same people that are saying there's a disease now are the same people that was like, keep them out of our community because they're zombies, they're crackheads, they're rob and steal and all that. Now they're saying, okay, we need to treat these people. I think there's a little bit half and half, but I think that we're a little bit too much, man. I think that now people can come to the other communities and come down here, go to Mass Cave, and now they're getting the resources of the people that should be going, the resources that should be going to the inner city, the
Now,
people that grind it.
now, do you feel that maybe over time people became more educated and realized that, yes, this isn't a disease and let's treat it as such? Or do you think there's another reason why they're putting so much attention to what's going on?
I think the suburbs, the kids in the suburbs started getting high, and that it was like, okay, we can't treat them as criminals no more. So I think that, the stats show that, we get treated, at a, we get convicted at a higher conviction than any other race. The stats show that we get, sentenced at a higher conviction than any other race, and it's sentenced longer. So it's like, okay, when people in the suburbs started doing it, it's like, okay, this is affecting us. The people that when we were saying they were animals, it didn't affect us. Now it affects us. We don't want our kids to go through the hardships that they went through. So, how do you fix that? You call it a disease.
Okay. So it's almost, if I understand you correctly, you feel that it's a double standard.
Of course it is.
Okay.
I mean, and you have a lot of people, man, that's already still doing a lot of time because of the same thing that they're allowing to go on now. And they're saying it is no crime, but it is a crime. So I know a lot of people that's locked up, man, for, that had problems, that were doing drugs, and they was getting a book thrown at them. Now, the people, new people that coming in, they get programs, and then they get an apartment, and they get other resources and stuff like that. It's like, what about the people that were going through the hardships? Them people are still in jail.
Okay. So if you had a way to address the issue, how would you address it?
I think that, of course, we have to address it, man, with gloves, because we are talking about people who, need help, and at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we protect our own, no matter what race they come from, no matter who they are. We have to protect our own. We have to make sure that we come together as a community, as a population, as one race, So again, we have to protect everybody, but we can't go too lenient on people. We can't just, basically reward you for doing drugs. And that's what I feel like now they're doing. It's like, if you do drugs, you get at the top of the list. It's like, okay, well, what about the person who's been struggling in the community that's been, need to the upper hand that is not doing drugs. Why can't they get ahead? Where's the resources for them? So I just think that we have to do a better job of just making sure that the people that really need it get it.
Okay, all right. One of the things, as I shared with you, I feel that it is a disease because, like I always say, I don't feel that anyone wakes up one morning and say, I want my life to spiral out of
Right.
control
Absolutely.
and become addicted to the substance that that has taken complete control over my life.
Absolutely.
I do feel like there has to be something. I've gotten more educated with the harm reduction. I often share when I did my intern, this was many moons ago, that it was at, Andrew Detox. A person came in, they were put on methadone. Before they left the detox, they were weaned off of it. That's a little different, today. People can be on it for years. And if they're not doing other things, I guess that's okay. I definitely don't feel like it should be a cookie cutter. Each case should be individualized,
Right.
in
I
my
agree.
belief,
I agree.
But I definitely feel that we've came a long ways. We still have definitely a even a longer way to go because it is an epidemic and it is affecting so many, people, not just the people that's on mass and cast, but their families, their loved ones,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
So we definitely have to do something to change the narrative, if you will.
And that's the one thing I do agree with. I mean, like, again, no one wants their family on drugs, man. No one wants their community to be on drugs, and no one wants anybody to be walking down the street and see the destruction of anybody on drugs. So
Right.
I agree. We have to find a solution for, again, unity so we can help each other, man. But we got to do it in a respectable manner that, we're not, you know, just, forgetting about the people that been here.
Right.
And that's all I'm saying is, like, I get that when it comes to the mass app, there's a lot of people they're not from here, that are here. And of course, everybody needs help, but we have to, before we start throwing money to everywhere, and that's why America's in debt so much right now, is because we throw money to everybody else before taking care of home. And all I'm saying is, every community has money for their community. Why are we taking on the debt of everybody else's community?
Okay. All right. Now, do you feel that because of, as you say, while we taking on the debt of the communities, do you feel that's the reason why some of the reason why there's a shortage of resources within our community?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you got all those people standing out there every day, you know what I mean? Like, you're giving them something. And they continue to give them a lot. So it's like, instead of, they getting all the resources. Like, for the people that's been living in the inner community, they're getting pushed to the back of the line because, and I know this firsthand because I have family members that, trying to look for the same people, spots that people over there, and they're getting it.
Okay.
So I feel like, man, we just have to do a job of just making sure everybody gets a little taste, man. Everybody's being taken care of, and everybody's, being protected in the community.
So, how do you suggest that we do that?
Well, on that, I'm not in that narrative about, how I can, help someone that's, suffering from, you know drug use. So that, that's something the city has to find the professionals, the people that, they can relate to, the experts that going to come up with a great program for, to stop that. What I'm just saying is that seeing 200 people out there a day, that's not the solution. You know what I mean? So we got to fix that part.
Okay, all right. Well, one of the things that I often say, we have to definitely address the underlying issue. I don't feel like giving someone an apartment is always the solution when you haven't dealt with the mental health issues, when you haven't addressed the real substance issue, because I feel like then we are setting people up for failure. I'm a firm believer, like I said earlier, that no one woke up and said that this is how I want my life to be. I believe that is driven by trauma, and people start self-medicating until we get a tighter or better system to deal with our mental health. You're just going to continue to see these different type of behaviors, whether it be with the drugs, it may be something else. But I feel like that's really the underlying issue is, people's mental health.
Right, and we have to, like, again, we have to address the main topics, like you said, mental health, and a lot of times you have to find the root of the problem, and where are people in the inner city, what's the shift that they go from regular to start using drugs, and then they attack that point. So like my father, he was an educated guy, man. He was someone that went to college, then played basketball, went to church, but when he went into drugs, he went into drugs hard. He ended up like I said, he ended up dying off of drugs.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I used to watch him go through that destruction, watch him deteriorate, watch him, just be a different person every time I seen him. And, I kind of learned that's not what I wanted, because I saw it firsthand.
Right.
So that was my education. And I think that the youth need to just see the causes of what those things can do. Unfortunately, the pills came into the game plan, and a lot of people got hooked on pills before they knew what they could do.
Right.
So like I said, we just have to be educate everybody so that they don't fall in those traps.
Right. One of my guests, and I think we see this a lot, where people feel like it can't happen to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm smarter. It's not going to happen to me. And a lot of times, those are the very people that it, end up happening to. And what do you suggest? Look, they're giving me the that we got to wrap it up. Okay. So before I wrap it up, since it's getting that time, I would allow you the opportunity to leave some parting words with our audience.
Okay. Well, thank you again for having me. I'm blessed, man, to be on your show. You can find me on IG, Ricardo88. Find me on Facebook, Ricardo Williams. Again, CMG, Casual Business Moves Publishing Company. We have 4 books. Make sure that you go and cop them, casualbusinessmoves.com. Also, if you can, go get an ebook on Kindle. And again, man, just catch me on the streets, man. We're going to be doing a lot of community events and giving back to the kids.
You know what I wanted to mention too, you have something coming up. Oh my goodness, what is it, the painting thing? Can you let our audience know about that?
Okay, so
and he's looking for models.
I'm looking for models. We're going to do an erotic sip and paint thing where the ladies come and sip and paint, nude models. I want 2 ladies, 1 guy. And we're going to have a book reading as well with a lady just sits there and reads my erotic short stories while, you're painting. So you get a 3-for-1, man, and at the end we're going to have a little gathering where you can just mingle. This is going to be a ladies-only event for the first one, and, we'll expand it after that.
Okay, thank you. Well, this has been another great show. We thank you for being here with us and sharing this time with us. I thank you, my audience, for being here with us also. And in closing, as you know, I bid you peace, love, and blessings always. And remember, the best is still yet to come with your girl, Steph. Thank you.